Thousands of us drive through this traffic circle on Cabarrus Avenue every day. For many of us, our attention is drawn to the imposing monument dedicated to the life and memory of Dr. Martin Luther King, which is located on the corner of the intersection with Cascade Avenue. Few of us notice, however, a much smaller neighboring monument on the opposite corner, erected to the life and memory of Benjamin Patton. That small granite marker is often adorned with small flags and flowers. It tells us that he was a soldier, a patriot, a signer of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. But who the man was or what he did, about that we know little. It's that man that we go in search of today. I'm Clarence Horton. On behalf of Cabarrus County and the people and organizations who are committed and dedicated to preserving her heritage, we thank you and welcome you today as we explore the history of Old Cabarrus and her people. As the 20th century dawned, history-minded Cabarrus citizens were concerned that they had erected few monuments to the heroes of the American Revolution and that the memory of those days was rapidly fading. On July 5th, 1900, after a very spirited July 4th celebration, a group of Cabarrus men began a pilgrimage across the county to locate and to mark the sites of those historic events. They first visited the old Pfeiffer Cemetery and then the site of Red Hill Inn, located just across the road, a place George Washington visited and stayed in 1791 on his southern tour. Following that, they were intrigued with the scene of the gunpowder plot in which a group of young Scots-Irish Presbyterians from Cabarrus County disguised themselves by blackening their faces, then seized and destroyed a wagon load of gunpowder and supplies intended for use against the Regulators, a backcountry group opposed to the practices of English officials. History honors the daring band of adventurers as the Cabarrus Black Boys. Over the years, they have loaned their name to military companies and to the local chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. After studying those well-known locations, the group began to search for the grave of Benjamin Patton, a well-known revolutionary patriot. The Patton family had moved to the southern Piedmont from Augusta County, Virginia, and bought rich farmland along Irish Buffalo Creek in what was then Mecklenburg County. Benjamin Patton became a well-known local citizen and a prominent member of his beloved Poplar Tent Presbyterian Church. In August 1774, as the controversy between England and her American colonies grew worse, North Carolina colonists convened their first provincial congress to be held in New Bern in the state, some 200 miles away. Benjamin Patton must have been quite a well-known patriot in his time, for he was elected the Mecklenburg delegate to that convention. According to at least one published account, he had no dependable means of transportation and had to walk the entire 200-mile distance to New Bern. In May 1775, Mecklenburg leaders, a large number of whom were Scots-Irish Presbyterians, convened a meeting at the courthouse in Old Charlottesburg to discuss the gathering war situation. Among those members gathered was Benjamin Patton and a number of his friends and relatives from that part of old Mecklenburg County, which is now Cabarrus. Controversy still exists about whether, in fact, they signed that document on May 20, 1775, for the minutes of that meeting were lost in a fire some years later. History, however, accepts that a document was signed by the delegates, and the North Carolina legislature, after a lengthy investigation, placed that date on the North Carolina state flag. Among the signers, in addition to Benjamin Patton, were 4 of his fellow parishioners from Poplar Tent Presbyterian Church. According to equally established tradition, one of the writers of that declaration was the Reverend Hezekiah James Mock, then the pastor at Poplar Tent Presbyterian. Later that year, Patton was appointed to serve on the Committee of Safety for the Salisbury District, which included Mecklenburg County. In 1792, Cabarrus County was set off as a separate county from Old Mother Mecklenburg. Unfortunately, the residents were unable to agree on the location for a county seat. In 1794, the North Carolina legislature finally appointed a committee of local legislators and citizens to agree on the location for a county seat and to obtain land for that purpose. Benjamin Patton was among those named to that committee. The new town was named Concord to symbolize the harmony or coming together of local residents. Patton lived near the town until 1802, when he died and his will was admitted to probate. In 1900, the preservation group actually walked the banks of Irish Buffalo Creek, searching for the traditional grave site of Benjamin Patton. A local farmer thought he recalled the site and pointed it out to them, but they were unable to find a tombstone or a grave site other than a few small scattered stones. It was on the land of W.F. Goodman and his wife Mary. In 1922, Mr. W.F. Goodman and his wife deeded a small tract of land to the local DAR chapter. The deed was made to Miss Mary Lewis Harris Reed, regent of that chapter. The ladies intended to erect on that site a granite monument with a bronze plaque honoring the life and accomplishments of Benjamin Patton. Marker dedication was scheduled for late in 1922. A local photographer managed to capture the ladies in their 1922 finery, dedicating the monument on the banks of the creek. The original location of the monument didn't prove to be very permanent, however. Changes in the roads caused the monument to be placed in storage, then forgotten for a time. Finally, it was restored to the edge of Kerr Street, near the old waterworks, and near Irish Buffalo Creek. Eventually, the monument was returned to Cabarrus Avenue and located near the bridge across Irish Buffalo Creek on Cabarrus Avenue. Unfortunately, during the Odyssey, part of its base was lost. It also appeared that the monument was not well tended, as old photographs show that it was completely covered by the local weeds. The Patton Monument returned to prominence, however, in about 2008 and 9, when space was set aside along West Cabarrus Avenue for a memorial plaza to house a monument to the life and memory of Dr. Martin Luther King. The Patton Monument was placed in storage for a time, then re-erected at its present location opposite the King marker. So the search continues for the grave site of Benjamin Patton. Local members of the DAR hope that eventually documents will be discovered that will mark the location of the old cemetery in which Mr. Patton is buried. Another mystery has arisen, however. Judge Marty McGee and his daughter Eleanor, while roaming through the old cemetery at Poplar Tent Presbyterian Church, discovered that just beside the grave site of the Reverend Hezekiah James Mock is a marker that purports to mark the burying place of one Benjamin B. Patton. He's shown to be a soldier in the American Revolution a member of the militia. Whether it marks the grave of our patriot or one of his relatives, we do not know. But we do know that the search continues for him. We're glad you were able to be with us as we turn another yellowed page in the history of this special place, this Cabarrus. We hope to see you again real soon.